Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for all of your patience, and it's a pleasure to be here. Sorry for the trouble that we had, a little technical glitch, that's part of life. It happens. So let's begin. So today let me introduce myself. I'm Ahmed, a PhD student at Indiana University, Bloomington, in the media school. And it's going to be my third year from this fall. I just finished my second year. Today I'll be speaking about Raven Jackson's debut feature film, which was premiered in Sundance in 2023, and the title is All Dirt Roads, Taste of Salt, as you can see the poster as well. I don't know why this crossings are there. Okay, so just bear with this as an aesthetic. So yeah, we can, yeah. I hope it won't affect much. So what I'm going to talk about is how this film reimagines what it means to remember. Instead of telling stories through dialogue or linear plots, Raven Jackson uses silence, soil, water, breath to create a sensory archive where the land itself carries memory. And here memory doesn't only live in people or photographs. It flows through mud and shifts with rainfall, and it lingers in touch. I hope you already got it. It has a very haptic touch, but it extended that haptic visuality, that concept of hapticness in cinema that we know from Laura Mulvey's The Skin of the Film. So this is not just a metaphor I'm using when I'm saying memory doesn't only live in people and photograph. It's a cinematic grammar, as we all have been talking about aesthetics and making and filmmaking and the crafting of it. This grammar where the land remembers as well, not only human mind. And touch teaches as well, not only verbal communication. And how that has been portrayed, we'll get there. I wanted to start with a little bit of, which will take now a decade for me. So I hope. Gotcha. Learning. So, and I'll lower the volume because the way I wanted to present, it will be, I won't use the word background, but it will be there. And I'll speak the way I'm speaking. We can save a lot of time accordingly. But it won't affect your perception of the film.
We don't have control of the volume. I tried. That doesn't change it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It speaks very less. It's mostly ambient. You can already hear.
If you look at the top, at the very top on the tab, you see that little speaker?
Yeah.
You should be able to mute the page.
Oh. It can mute. I can mute it. Okay. But I wanted also a little bit of it. Mute is too much. You know, it's not like I want absence. So it's fine. It's fine. No worries. Let's carry on. So we can see the kid, Mackenzie, and we follow the life of Mac, the character that you see here. I mean, you'll soon see it's the fish that we can see right now so far. And we follow the life of Mac since childhood to an old lady, but we do not see it chronologically. You know, so a black woman whose journey unfolds through grief, kinship, love, and silence in rural Mississippi. That's the context. If you haven't seen the film. But as I said, it's not in the teleological order or cause and effect order or in the chronological order. Her life appears in fragments. And we felt more than we are explained. We felt it through her. They hardly speak, a little bit. And Mac is portrayed, as I said, by different actors in this whole film. When it's a newborn baby, when Mac was a newborn baby, when Mac was an old lady, when Mac was adult, when Mac was a teenager. And we go through all this, but the way the editing happened here is very elliptical. We can say it's an elliptical montage. It's not at all making sense what is present tense and what is past and what is future. And that's the whole structure of the whole film. Yet, we go along with this journey, with the character's journey, the way the character has seen life, has grew up in Mississippi. It's a black Southern experience that the character is sharing through this film. And I call it, we can pause it a bit now. And you can see mostly close shots, only the action, as we have seen a bit glimpses of the first few shots. And the father is teaching the kid how to fish. And mostly through grandmother, we have a family, mom, father. It's the generational knowledge that is being transformed through touch and very less dialogues. So let's take it out. How is mouse? Thank you. Just the slide is fine. Or mirroring would be better, right? Meanwhile, I can carry on.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, what I'm naming it as Black ecological memory work, and which refers to a cinematic and philosophical grounding, a practice. It reclaims intergenerational memory through ecological, sensory, and embodied media. By media, I mean mud. By media, I mean water. By media, I mean breath. It refuses definitely, as you have already guessed it, the dominant structure or archival or chronological pattern or narrative structures. It restages memory as a tactile, elemental, and often silent process of transmission. How to change slides?
Oh, we got one, but the film is that the one?
It's the, no.
The browser.
No, what I'm saying is,
You want the film or you want?
oh, gotcha. Good there. Yeah, now we got it. So as you can see on screen, what I just said, it is about Black Southern life. When I'm saying life, grief, joy, intergenerational care. It foregrounds cultural traditions and genealogies suppressed or erased in dominant historical archives. It is ecological because it treats nature not as a backdrop, but as a co-archivist, I would say, where we see soil and order, soil and water and weather. By weather, the whole totality of the environment. All of them carry memory and participate in this pedagogy that we are saying, the transmission of knowledge. It's not only human to human, but when you touch soil, when you smell after rain the soil, it's also the transmission of the same knowledge. And that's what this film has portrayed beautifully. It's memory work because it does not passively preserve memory, but actively reactivates history. And that's why we get confused if we look for chronological order like past, present, and future. Because it's reactivating history in a sense. It's the touch of the elemental nature that changes the scenario. The next scene is a different age. And we get to know the different age sometimes through different styles of the filmmaker. For example, the way the hair was braided. For a kid, it's different. For a teenager, it was different. When it was an adult, when Mag became an adult, it's different. So there are other symbols through which you get an idea which age right now the character fits in. But it's not chronological, as I said. So a couple of scenes that I have, I'll not show you much of the scenes now because it will create more hassles. So I'll just carry on. I would say we all are here either film scholars and filmmakers or enthusiasts and film aficionados, so we should watch. So I hope we all will watch it. So there's a sequence, for example, a grandmother placing dirt in Mac's hand, a mother showing her how to clean a fish. It was the next, yeah. So the images so far will work, the first image that you can see. And here we see tactile teachings passed through skin and soil. And they are lessons that you feel, not hear. in this whole film. Scholar Tina Kempt invites in the book Listening to Images, how to listen to images and to sense vibrations and textures beyond visual clarity. And Jackson builds on this idea in this film, crafting a film grammar where hands speak, rain teaches, and soil remembers. The scene that I was talking about, we also have several scenes of clay eating, geophagy as a culture. So one powerful scene that involves Mac as a child receiving dirt from her grandmother's palm, and the grandmom says, "This you," which takes away the agency and the hierarchical hubris of human, and kind of brings the elemental communion in the same plane. Her grandmom says softly, soil here, not just material, it's memory, identity passed from generation to generation. By the film's end, we see Mac eating the same earth, echoing real life story Jackson shared with me in an interview. I interviewed her right after I saw the film. Her grandmom, now I'm saying in the interview when Raven Jackson, the director, talked about the process and crafting of this film, described how the smell of rain on clay after a storm was so irresistible that it pulled her, and she's quoting her grandmom. So Jackson calls this sensation being closest to earth. In these moments, dirt becomes a communion, a sensory link connecting past, present, and future. And these moments are acts of Black maternal pedagogy as well, if we look at it from that angle, where knowledge is passed not through explanation, but through embodied intergenerational touch. In one of the tender scenes in the end, I guess it would be Hassel, yes. I wish I could, yeah. So, yeah, I'm stepping back on that. So we see Mac became mom, and she has a daughter, a young daughter named Lily. And how what she learned from her grandmom, from her mom, is also passed on to Lily about this elemental communion, care, and ethics. And they were sitting right in a bench in a park, and camera right at the back. We see both of their hairs braided differently, which is a common pattern throughout the film, even when Mac was a kid and was growing up. And we see it started raining. And both of them just leave their hand and touch the rain, and they enjoy the rain, that's it. But the way it was composed, cinematographed or edited, and how the soundscape, it immerses you as well as it ruptures the traditional style of storytelling. So there is immersiveness as well as a rupture. We'll get there. As I was saying, Mac and her daughter Lily sit under soft rainfall, and Mac says, drops don't end or begin, they just change form. And it's quite a way of saying that nothing is really ever gone. Now we are going back to the work of memory, not as a past, that this film actually boldly asserts in its stylistic way, not verbally, that memory is never gone. It's part of the present tense. And that's why we cannot make a sense of present, past, and future in this film. Memory, like water, is always moving. And it's also called, there's another style that I would say I find here is the choreosonic atmosphere. By choreosonic as in movement, choreography, sonic as in sound. And we have these both elements that play all together, building up the scenes. It's a term used by Tina Kempt as well as Crawley in Black Panthers, in that book. I forgot the title of the book. Sorry about that, yeah. So what it talks about is, Crawley says about this is a rupture as well. This breathing as a collective experience. Breathing as a collective experience is also a rupture. And why breathing? Because when we are giving an example of choreosonic movement or choreosonic aesthetic, choreography and sound, where we have movement and sound both at the same time. And Tina Kempt and Crawley both brought this and extended this argument. Tina Kempt said, so breathing together creates an atmosphere of feeling. And Crawley is extending it that it is also an aesthetic rupture. And we see that rupture also in many sequences in this film where, for example, there was a wedding scene of Mac, wedding scene of the sister of Mac. And in the church, they all sing, "O Lord, in your loving arms around." And the way it was composed, suddenly we shifted from the mood of fiction to documentary as if, because the people were real there, actually in the church. It was actually a community church. The people were actually there for praying, and the way they chant, the way they sing the song, it's not only a verbal expression, but it kind of transports all of them together into one breathing. And that's how breathing became a part of aesthetics. And rupture, because also the style that we see Raven Jackson was carrying on throughout, suddenly the framing in that particular scene of all the masks in the church, we see all of them center framed and looking into the camera, breaking the fourth wall. So that's one sort of rupture that we see in that sequence. And it was not at all, this chorus in the church was not at all a spectacle. They don't just perform it. It transports and it dissolves the boundary between viewer and the participant, because as if the person is speaking to me as an audience when I'm looking at, and the person is breaking the fourth wall. And we see several such shared communal practices, whether the church sequence that I just shared, or bathing the baby in the kitchen sink, or eating clay dirt, or two sisters, Mac and her sister, they always braid each other's hair. And all these are non-verbal rituals that transmit intergenerational knowledge through elemental communion. And they're not just domestic acts. They are ceremonial practices that ground Black Southern life in shared breath, earth, and rhythm as well. In this way, nature, community, and body become co-authors of memory. And they refuse erasure through collective and haptic experience. This is the church sequence shots. I can just show you a glimpse of all the real people that was in the church, and the way it was filmed. The first time we see people looking directly on the camera and the center frame, composition is like that. And this is our Mac, adult Mac at this time. And as I said, it doesn't move chronologically at all. Moving on. Raven Jackson's film is a quiet act of world making. Now, what I'm saying when I'm saying world making, what we might also call reworlding through mud, silence, and slow touch. It holds memory not as history to be told, but as rhythm to be felt. Not as a transformation, but as intimacy. We can see this in the edits, as I said, in the elliptical montage. Rather than telling us what happened, Jackson gives us fragments. Glimpses of Mac as a child, then as an adult, and back again, held together by recurring gestures. Not chronology, definitely. And this is what Tina Kant also talks about in the book Listening to Images. Grammar of archive. Meaning is made not through plot, but pulse. Not explanation, but vibration, touch, atmosphere. A hand caressing a gasping fish, for instance, in the first sequence that we saw. Mud on the skin, close shots of those, and also the whole, the heightened ambient, giving a kind of a saturated feeling, the hum of insects. Jackson uses these textures to build a sensory archive of Black Southern life. And I would like to bring Kodwe Shun's concept of counter memory on this context, though it was written in the context of Afrofuturism, which this is not at all Afrofuturistic in that sense, which requires to be a sci-fi speculative ground. And I would just quote a little bit, paraphrase Eshun's concept of counter memory, describing strategy of disrupting dominant linear colonial timelines by creating alternative temporalities rooted in Black experience.
You know, the panel's over in about 15 minutes.
I'll just finish in 1-2 minutes. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm almost done.
I mean,
So
we can go over, but I'm just saying,
Yeah, it's almost done. I'm almost done. Yeah, I'm just wrapping it up now.
Because you haven't presented yet. That's what I'm trying to.
Right, but are you the moderator?
No, we don't.
Oh, okay, so let's just let him.
It's my last slide. I'm just done.
Yeah, no, I don't
It's done,
care.
done, done.
I'm
No,
just
no,
saying,
it's fine.
let him
Trying to
finish.
give you.
No, definitely, I should be respectful of it. So sorry for the glitch that happened about timing. So as I was saying, rather than recovering lost histories, counter memory functions as what Eshun calls a proleptic intervention, which is a speculative practice that projects future possibilities to reshape the present grounded in the dislocation of historical time under slavery and its afterlives. And here in this film, Raven Jackson performs exactly that, but not in the grounds of sci-fi or Afrofuturistic. But we see counter memory by rejecting traditional narrative structures in favor of an immersive, elliptical poetics. Jackson refuses the authoritative timeline of the plot and instead creates a memory work rooted in soil, breath, and bodily sensation, as I said. So this aligns with Eshun's call to abandon of the fetish of the archive, by which Eshun meant against the time capsule of truth, but creating new ways of imagining the past and future. And instead, as per Eshun's call, it inhabits speculative, effective, and sensory practices that make Black life felt across time, without having to explain or to justify. Counter memory here becomes not a rejection of erasure, but a reclamation of futurity through ecological and haptic means. And this way of remembering also pushes back against Black women, how they're often represented on screen. Instead of trauma or spectacle, Raven Jackson in this film gives us care, the quiet birth sequence, a mother and the daughter enjoying the rainfall, sisters bathing the newborn baby. They are not dramatic events, they are slow rituals, everyday acts of survival and care. Rather than distance, Jackson's camera invites closeness. This is what Laura Marx calls haptic visuality. I'm not going to that. I'll just wrap up with the reason I used Black feminist rewording as a frame. It's not an abstract label. It is a precise shorthand for the cinematic method, an ontological project that centers, firstly, Black women's lived experience and care and silence. Secondly, that challenges dominant temporalities and archives, as I talked about counter memory and speculative historiography. Thirdly, reconstructs memory through elemental and sensory forms, that is reworlding. This reworlding is enacted through grand gestures, but through the, not through grand gestures, but through the intimate textures of everyday life that I have used in my second slide in the early of this session today, Black ecological memory work, going back to that and concluding with it, which is not a method, which is a method and ethics of filmmaking, going back to what also you referred in your earlier presentation, that reclaims memory through elemental poetics, quiet ritual, and sensory inheritance, we can see. Raven Jackson's film turns soil into witness, water into kin, and silence into a language that carries the archive cannot hold. And that's the counter archive. Thank you.